Welcome to the Vetiver Vibes podcast. We're your hosts, Nikki, Rachel, and Rhonda, certified clinical aromatherapists coming to you from Ontario, Canada, and on the internet everywhere.
This episode is brought to you by Essentria, a leading online school for aromatherapy. Essentria is your go-to source for clinical aromatherapy certification programs that are recognized by NAHA and the Canadian Federation of Aromatherapists.
If you want to learn more about how to use aromatherapy with kids, check out their website, www.schoolofessentria.com. We're excited that you've given your time to be here with us, knowing you'll get the best essential oil scoop.
Welcome, Robin. So we have Robin Kessler today. She's our guest. She is a certified clinical aromatherapist and professional teacher with NAHA and a professional member of the IFPA. She specializes in working in hospice, and she wrote the book on resins and how to incorporate aromatherapy. She has also written Frankincense and Hospice in many aromatherapy journals. And she gives workshops on frankincense and how to get into hospice using aromatherapy. So welcome, Robin.
Thank you.
To get started, we always like to ask our guests, what's your favorite essential oil?
Oh my goodness. My favorite, actually, it's not even a resin. My favorite essential oil is petitgrade. Because I use the enfleurage of petitgrade and neroli. And the reason I like it is because I use it a lot on my hospice patients, and I find that it's very anti-stressful and very relaxing for them. So, and it's a more gentle, most people like the smell of, it has the smell of oranges. So most people like the smell of, not many people don't like oranges. So it gives off a very fresh type smell. So that's why, believe it or not, that's my top of the list. The second one, there's two. The second one that is on the top of the list is Boswellia neglecta. And I usually mix the two and make a blend out of it because neglecta is extremely relaxing and balancing, and it's also very good for anxiety and stress. So I usually mix the two together, make a blend, and that's what I bring to my hospice patients or any of my clients that are looking for something to melt away the stress.
Yes, I actually do like the smell of petitgrade too. You're right. It does have a slight like oranginess to it, but it's definitely very like fresh. I find it's almost a bridge between that citrus and the herb, right? When you smell it, and it's just so calming. And I think it's just because it's that whole neroli, bitter orange, like all their constituents, they're all just bring you to a really calm and gentle place, right?
And the best part about it, it's more than half the price of neroli, since neroli is so expensive and you have to use it so sparingly. The price is just unbelievable, and you get the exact same results. So yeah, it's really nice.
Well, and it's easier, I guess, to obtain. That's why, because neroli is a hand-picked flower, and there's a process involved. So that's why that price point is so high. Where when you look at petitgrade, it's like much easier.
Well, they're taking it from the leaves instead of the flower. So you get more leaves than flower. So,
always, right?
but it's really nice. So if anybody wants to try it, almost everybody has it. You can either buy petitgrade or you can buy the enfleurage of petitgrade, the co-distillation of petitgrade and neroli. Almost everybody has it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. We're not surprised that one of the frankincense species was on that list because you're known as the frankincense girl, I swear.
Yeah, well.
So we're here today to talk a little bit about frankincense then, right? Because you're known as like the frankincense girl. So you've written the book.
The
The
queen has to
queen,
put my
right?
crown on. Yeah.
Yes.
I've been named by 2 aromatherapists the frankincense queen. So
Yes.
I figured I'll keep it.
Yes, I think that's a well-established name. So what are the differences then? Because as you probably know, like when we go through traditional aromatherapy education, or even if you're a consumer on the storefront, usually frankincense is just frankincense. Nobody thinks about all the different species. So can you tell us a little bit about those differences?
Yeah. The unfortunately, when we do our aromatherapy certification, at least the course that I took, the certification that I took, and I found out from other aromatherapists who took different aromatherapy certifications at different schools, it's not really taught. It's the only one that's really taught is carterii, frankincense, Boswellia carterii. But nobody knows about any of the other species. And I was very pleasantly surprised when I started to learn about each one of the species and realized, wait a minute, you can't, as the funny thing that I say is, you can't say frankincense. You can say Frankenstein. There's only one of him. But there are actually 18 species of frankincense, and frankincense is in the Boswellia family, and in the Boswellia family there are 48 species of different Boswellia resins, which are very similar to frankincense. So
Wow.
when you see a bottle of essential oil that says frankincense, I tell people what's in it. What, it can't just be frankincense. And nowadays it seems that they're throwing in a whole bunch of different frankincense species into one bottle. I think that's ridiculous, because it's like taking pain medicine and stress medicine and mushing them together. So what do you use it for? There's too many variants, and you don't know how many drops of one versus how many drops of another. And especially most of them have like 7 or 8 species in there. So you don't know what you're really using it for. There are, as I said, there are so many different ones. Carterii, Boswellia is the Latin name. Frankincense is the common name. So when you're purchasing the essential oil, you want to make sure that it has the Latin name on it, because that determines the differences in each species. Just like an essential oil, each species of a plant could be different, very similar to rosemary. Rosemary has different separations in the plant. So, and each one does something different. The same thing with frankincense. Carterii is excellent for any type of skin condition, anything, eczema, dermatitis, acne, any one of those are excellent to use for carterii. Would I use it for pain? It depends on what chemical component you're looking for in it. In the essential oil, there's no boswellic acid, because as we know, it's too heavy a molecule to come through the distillation. So you're not going to see the same thing that you see in the resin versus the essential oil, because in the resin, you have the boswellic acid. In the essential oil, you don't. So it depends on what you're going to use it. If you're going to use the resin and you're going to make an infusion out of it, because it has the boswellic acid, which is excellent for inflammation, then you can actually not only use it for a skin condition, but you can use it for pain. So that's the difference between the essential oil and the most of the resins. The difference is the chemical constituents that are in it. The essential oil doesn't have as much alpha-pinene in it that the resin does. And this chemical is excellent for inflammation also. So it's a matter of what you're going to use it for, depends on each resin. For example, Boswellia sacra. Boswellia sacra, not much of it is sold in essential oil because most people don't even know what it's all about. You have the controversy that sacra and carterii are the same species. Well, yes and no.
Yes, I've actually seen that. I think the first frankincense I ever bought, it combined both of those, and then they just presented it as having the same benefits. So I
Yeah,
think
but
until I heard of you and started reading your book, I thought, oh, they're different. Like
they're different, mainly because they're in different countries. Sacra is grown in Oman. The climate is different. The soil is different. Environment is different. Carterii is grown in Somaliland and Somalia. Same thing. Climate is different. Totally different climates, totally different soil. So of course you're going to get different trees. The trees look very similar to each other. The resin, if you pick out, carterii comes in all different colors. So if you pick out the colors, you'll get, it'll become and look like sacra. Sacra comes in 4 grades. Sacra comes in Hajari green sacra because it comes from the Hajari mountains. And the green is considered the highest grade. And it also has the highest amount of alpha pinene in it. The second grade is white. By the way, a little trick about the green is extremely expensive, but a lot of it is marketing because there is the light green and then there's the dark green. The dark green only grows about what the resin that comes out of this particular tree only comes out once a year. So it's very special. It's also extremely dark, like emeralds. Now, but I bought both because the royal, the price is like, forget it. You can't touch it. The light green, the price is much easier to digest. But I had them both tested in a lab in Princeton. And guess what? The alpha pinene is the same percentage in the dark green versus the light green. It's a color perception. And the fact that it's, quote, more beautiful looking, now it costs more money. So as we know, normally anything more brilliant and beautiful, like the Hope Diamond is brittle and beautiful, is outrageous in price, but a regular diamond, most people can afford. So that's the difference, but they're basically the same. The difference is the color and the brilliance of it. That's the royal. So I carry only the light because I want my clients to be able to get the benefit of the resin without having to, quote, buy the, quote, the royal. The second grade is white sacra, and it's absolutely beautiful. It smells, it has a lemony, cinnamon, musky type smell, and it's unbelievable. It tastes wonderful. Most resins taste terrible. This one happens to taste, and a lot of the resins can be ingested as long as you're careful, because unfortunately you can get diarrhea or stomach problems if you overdo.
how would you ingest them though? Like I've never heard of, like you wouldn't
What
just
you
take a
do-
rock and eat it, would you?
Well, you can put a rock in and eat it. You might break your teeth. I tell people to suck it. The
Okay.
Resin, especially the white, you can make, and in my book it explains it all, you can make frankincense sacra water. So it looks like milk when it becomes it's 1 ounce to 8 ounces of spring water, because you want to use good water. And you put it in a ball jar, shake it up, put it in the refrigerator. Within 2 days, it'll look like skim milk, the color of skim milk. Then you strain it, and you can use it for anything that has water. The only thing that I tell people is use very little, because as I said, it can upset the stomach if you overdo. So I tell people say, well, can I use it in a tea? Well, in a tea, I suggest you put it in a one of those little tea bags, break it up into a powder, put about a half a teaspoon in a tea bag, sift it let it sit in the tea bag for about 2 minutes till you really smell it. And then in about 6 ounces of water, then you can drink it. It was the only thing that actually made me live, because I had my thyroid removed and my throat was on fire. And ices didn't help. Ice cubes didn't help. Nothing was helping. So I didn't drink it hot because I was afraid to put hot down there. So what I did is I let it cool and I sipped it. And within 10 minutes, my throat, the pain was gone. So it's excellent for any type of inflammation inside the body. So, but I tell people, please only use a little bit. Start off with no more than a teaspoon to see if your body can handle it. And as I said, it's the only thing that tastes good. I make cakes with it. I've put it in apple pie. And gave it to, I served it. Everybody was very relaxed, but nobody was in pain. So it was, so there's so many things you can do, especially with the white. With the green, you can also make a tea, especially if you're in acute pain. If you're in acute pain, I would use the green over the white, but everybody's different. The third one is brown sacra, which happens to be one of my favorites, because people say, what does it taste? What does it taste? What does it look like? And what does it smell like? Well, it smells like sitting in a field of oranges, grapefruits, lemons, and limes. Put them all around you and smell it. That's what brown sacra looks like. And brown sacra, I'm going to show it to you because I have it sitting here.
It's so interesting that it smells like citrus, but
it smells just like citrus.
But it's a resin.
It's a resin. It's a resin. And I have a big piece. They don't come this big, but this is a big piece of it. And let's see if I can get it up to the camera. And that's basically, it's more of a brownish color. It's hard because of the camera, but yeah, you can see it better on my website, what it looks like. There you go.
Wow.
Okay. And oh, I love it. It just smells incredible. It smells like frankincense. It has the spicy smell that frankincense has, but it is just absolutely beautiful. And it's wonderful in lemonade. Excellent, because it has that citrusy smell and taste. Even if you put it in your mouth, you'll taste, to me, it tastes like oranges. Everybody who I've let sample it, everybody has a different view. Somebody told me it tastes like a lemon. Somebody told me it tastes like a lime. So everybody has a different, somebody told me it tastes like grapefruit. So I think it tastes like oranges. So everybody's it, but it's great in lemonade because it has this nice lemony, orangey, citrusy smell. So, and taste. So you would grind it down. You would make it the same way in the infusion, the water infusion. And then you would take about 2 ounces of it and put it in a large 16 ounce jar of water, pour it in there, and you can squeeze a lemon, you can squeeze a lime, whichever you want to, and serve it that way. Your guests will be mellow the whole night. So definitely. Then there is the black, and the black is extremely hard to use. And I don't get much of the black because the black, this is a piece of the black. Whoa. That's the black. And the black has a lot of oleoresin resin gum in it. And the problem with the black is whatever you infuse it in, you have to throw out because it sticks like glue. So any of the residues that after you strain it, there's no way of getting it out of that glass. So it's a very, very hard resin to work with. Not many companies distill it because it is really hard to get it out of there still. So when you get it, there's a company in New York that sells it. It's very expensive because it's so hard to work with. So it's very labor intense. So you have to pay for the labor. It smells absolutely beautiful. It smells like perfume. It smells like a very good perfume. And it's excellent also. Each one of them are excellent for pain. And people say, which one should I get? Well, guess what? Different things for different folks. Green might work for you, but white might work for me. My husband has very bad back pains. Green does nothing for him, even though it's got the highest percentage of alpha-pinene, does nothing. The brown is his favorite, and that's a lower percentage. That helps his back. So everybody's different. The green works for me, the white work, they all work for me, but lots of people don't. And what I did is to make it easy is that since I sell the resin, I sell it in packets, in a kit. So you could, an ounce of it, you could try each one, see which one you like, and then decide which one works for you. Just like Essential Oil, sometimes one will work, sometimes one won't work. Yeah.
This break is brought to you by Essentria Aromatherapy School, leading online school of aromatherapy. If you want to use aromatherapy safely with your family, check out the Foundations of Aromatherapy course. Empower yourself with trusted education. Go to www.schoolofessentria.com.
Then there is Fariana. So Fariana comes in 4 different grades. Fariana is one of my favorite resins. And when it comes off the tree, it looks like this.
Okay.
It is absolutely beautiful.
It almost looks like a golden honey from here.
Yes, it does. And
Okay.
it smells very similar to honey. It really is.
Okay.
It's a beautiful resin. It is, it comes even bigger. When it comes off the tree, it can come this big. It's not sold this way because only to the elite, because it is so fragile. It breaks very easily in your fingers. And when they export it, they pray that it stays together because you can wind up with the other grades. This one has the most oleoresin resin inside it. So I'm not going to break it because I use this piece as a show. But normally you can see inside over here. Oops.
So it's a little bit transparent.
Yeah.
Like you can, oh, okay. So there's a little bit of opacity.
Yeah, it's very transparent. It is an excellent frankincense. It comes in 4 grades. It comes in the top grade And then second grade is a little smaller. And then there's third grade and fourth grade. Top grade is Mushad. Second grade is, I'm terrible at pronouncing these names. It's like people say to me, you have a Brooklyn accent. How come you can't pronounce it? So
well, are they Latin names still? I feel like most aromatherapists struggle with Latin names anyways.
Yeah, well, it's not only that, but it's also it's African names. So that's as bad as here it is. That's as bad. And the Mushad is grade 1, which is smaller than this. This is considered super. You don't see it this side. Mushad is about that big.
So it's a grade based on the size only, or is there like other parts
on the size? Only on the size. Because
so that's not, it doesn't define quality, it's just the size of the resin. Okay.
The only quality is how much ole resin is inside it. So the thicker the piece, the more essential oil you're going to get out of it if you're going to distill it. So which makes sense. The thinner the piece, the less essential oil. So Mushad is the first grade. Mujarwal, if I said that right, Mujarwl is the second grade. And the second grade is about that size. And then there is Kafabar, which is the third grade, which are like pea size.
Oh, pea size. Okay. So the second grade is like about a quarter or a loonie.
Yeah, the second grade is about that big.
Okay. So a little bit smaller than a quarter.
An inch, half an inch.
Okay, yeah.
About
so in Canada, I think in the States, nickel,
the first grade comes between 1 and 3 inches.
Okay, so that's pretty big.
The second grade is between a half and 1, because they vary in size because they fall apart. The third grade is about a quarter, so it's like a quarter of an inch, really tiny.
It's like pea size. Okay.
Like pea size. Right. And the fifth grade is more like gravel and sand, or powder. The first grade is, as I said, is not really sold in the United States because they're afraid to ship it. I have to beg to get it, and I pay a premium to have it shipped. The second grade is more popular because the second grade you can chew. They use it it grows in Somalia and Somaliland. But most of it is shipped to the Arab nations because they use it as chewing gum, because you can't chew it. It becomes chewing gum. I tell people, don't chew it if you have a bridge, if you have cavity fillings, or if you have caps, because it will pull them out. So I tell people, suck it instead. The third grade, second and third grade is what I tell people to use for infusion, to do an herbal infusion with it, because first of all, first grade is too expensive. And second grade and third grade, you can still get out of it what you need. I actually will distill at times with third grade, and I will still get essential oil out of it, even though it's so tiny. But second grade is used mostly for distillation. And third grade is less, and each grade is a different price. So that's how they grade it down and they price it down. The Arabs also use it. It's excellent for Crohn's disease, for arthritis. It's one of the best resins and essential oil. The different Boswellia fariana resins, that's basically the difference. And they also, it's a different price for each one because, you're going from top, lower. The what's very interesting that I found out about them is they use third grade for the Arabian horses. They put it in their feed and it helps the horse with digestion. They also use it and make an infusion out of it and rub it on the ones that race, the thoroughbreds that race, and it helps with their muscle pain, with their hip pain when they run. So not only is it used on humans, it can be used on animals. The resin can be used on dogs and cats. In fact, I have a friend that has a parakeet and it doesn't shut up. So what she did is she burned white sacra and blew the smoke towards the bird, and the bird went to sleep.
Oh no. I hope it was sleeping somewhere that it didn't fall off something.
So it was on the perch and it just stopped screaming and went to sleep. So now when the bird gets hysterical, she does that.
Wow.
I've used Fariana on German Shepherds. I have a friend that has a German Shepherd that has hip displacement, and I made a salve out of it. And as long as you use a carrier oil that is edible, so with him I used olive oil, and she actually I did the infusion instead because I didn't know if he'd be allergic to bees, having to use beeswax. So I went straight for a carrier oil and I used olive oil and I massaged it on his hip. And you should see the look on this dog's face. He went from no pain, from miserable pain, and he's wagging his tail and he's happy. So I left the bottle with her and she keeps it on the counter. And whenever he's in pain, he goes and grabs the bottle and brings it to her for her to put it on him. So
Wow.
you can use it, and you can use it on cats. So people ask me, can I burn it around cats? Definitely. There's not a problem. It's not like the essential oil where you can't use essential oils around cats, but you can use the resin because the resin is the raw material. It's not the concentration of the essential oil. So resin's not a problem. I'd be very careful not to allow the cat to swallow it because I don't know if it's a stone. So I don't know if the animal would be able to digest it that way. So I would not keep it around for a dog or a cat to be able to chew.
Right.
So
Yeah, because animals have different metabolic systems than humans, right? So we can't
yes,
just assume that what we're intaking or breathing or exposing ourselves to is always safe for our animals, right?
right.
So
They
I think
also
people
can
forget that.
handle this smoke better because they can't handle the essential oil of frankincense because it's so highly concentrated. But if you burn resin, they don't have a problem with it at all. In fact, they like it. They usually come up to it and they lay near wherever it's being burnt just to get the smell of it. So it's very interesting when it comes to the difference between the essential oil versus the resin.
Would
And
you say that that's why it's safer for humans to ingest the resin versus the essential oil
yeah,
because of the concentration of the essential oil itself?
yes, yes. And
Okay.
because that the resin is raw, it's the raw material. It's not 200 pounds of of the resin that is distilled to make the essential oil. So that's the problem. And of course, there's neglecta, which is also one of my favorites. Neglecta is a very interesting resin, Boswellia neglecta, because it produces two resins. One resin once a year, which is very rare, and the rest the other. Most of the resins, to get the resin off, you have to strike the resin. and striping is putting a cut in it to make the tree bleed so that the resin comes out. The reason the tree bleeds is the resin is a protection for the tree. Works like an antibiotic for the tree if the tree has a disease. And it also prevents insects from attacking the tree because it'll put out this resin and the incense will become a stone and die. So that's how they discovered that the resin actually has medicinal properties in it way back when.
Mhm.
And
Does this
so,
harm the trees though? Like, do they become extinct if we're extracting too much resin or actually kill the
well,
trees?
there's sustainability issues. And in Africa, they're very careful how the tree can only be tapped twice a year, 2 seasons a year, and it only can be tapped so much. So in Somaliland, their trees are very important to them. That's their livelihood. That and animals. Those are their two livelihoods. And the trees are extremely precious to them. So they take very good care of their trees. In Oman, they were becoming extinct and the government stepped in. And now it's regulated how much you can take from these trees. The advantage of Boswellia neglecta is they don't take. The tree drops the resin on the ground, which is really nice because nobody's tapping it. The same thing with myrrh. Certain species of myrrh also are harvested that way. It falls on the ground and they pick it up. So neglecta is wonderful because you're not touching the tree. The only thing is that I tell people not to ingest it because you don't know how many animals pooped on it, walked on it, whatever. So I tell people don't ingest it. You can use it topically because the carrier oil will pull out anything that's bad. And then once you strain it, you're pulling it out again. So I tell people to either burn it or use it topically. And the advantage, what it does is when it drops white resin and black resin. The white resin is very rare. They really don't sell much of it because it's so rare and they don't get a lot out of it. But the black resin, they do. And the black resin is excellent for stress and anxiety, for COPD, for respiratory issues. It's excellent. I use this resin a lot in infusions in my hospice patients. A lot of them have lung cancer and they have their lungs are very tight, so the secretions can't come through. So what I do is I rub it on their chest and it opens up the lungs so that the secretions can come through. And my sister-in-law has extremely bad COPD. And she used to live in Colorado and she had to move to Utah. No, I'm sorry, she had to move to Oregon because it's lower because of the altitude problem she was having. And I sent her a bottle of this. And when she goes and visits her children who are in Colorado, she has to use it on her because otherwise she can't breathe. And it has maintained her COPD without any medication, without any prescription drugs, by just her using it on her chest. She uses it every single day and she does not have any coughing spells. So it's an excellent resin for COPD, for anyone who has lung cancer or anybody who has lung issues. You don't have to have lung cancer to have lung issues. And as I said, it's excellent for stress. There's one more resin I just like to discuss because I'm doing a dissertation on it, and that is Boswellia papyrifera. Papyrifera comes from Kenya, and it also comes from another area in Africa. The what it is it has in it and I can't pronounce it either because I'm terrible when it comes to
I know we
Latin.
almost yeah.
When it comes to Latin, when it comes to, let me get it so I can tell you exactly
I
what's.
know I feel like aromatherapists almost need language lessons on how to
Yeah,
pronounce all
you need
these things,
language
right?
lessons on how to pronounce this stuff. Let me tell you.
Yeah. But even then, like from one aromatherapist to the next, we still say all the pronunciations different, right?
I cannot pronounce any of the Latin names. None. So I'm very bad. It has in it what is, it has a large amount of octyl acetate and octadol. And there are studies that show that insole octatate affects the central nervous system. Well, they use it in the churches when they swing the pendulum
Mhm.
because it gives you a feeling to be closer to God and Jesus. It has psychoatic properties to it also. So it can give you good dreams and bad dreams, depending on your situation. It's
Mhm.
excellent for stress and anxiety, but I found another use for it accidentally. I have, because it's very good for the central nervous system, I get essential tremors. It's an inherited thing I got from my parents. And so my hands shake. And I said, I'm going to take one of my infusions and I'm going to massage it in my hands and see what happens. Well,
Mhm.
within 15 minutes, my hand stopped shaking. So I go,
Wow.
this is very interesting. So I said, I work with my internist who is also an herbalist. And I was telling her about it. And she said, can you give me a bottle of it? I have a couple of patients that have essential tremors. I'd like to try it on them. Well, P.S., it's working for them. Then I told my acupuncturist about it, and she said, I'm wondering if it work on Parkinson's disease because they get tremors in their hands. So I said, well, you got nothing to lose. I'll give you a bottle. You'll tell me. Sure enough, it stopped their tremors when they actually put it on. So I sent it out to I have about 6 people working on it now, testing it for me over a 2-week period. And they're going to tell me if it's actually working. And the doctor is taking samples from me and testing it on other patients that have Parkinson's disease and essential tremors and other type of tremors. And it's actually working.
Wow.
So it's very interesting that this particular resin is helping those that have a central nervous problem. So I plan on putting the whole thing together and presenting it as a dissertation to one of the .org that deal with this type of stuff
Mhm.
and see if they want to research it further, because this could be a natural breakthrough for those that have this problem. So it's a very interesting resin. It's very tiny. It has a lemony type smell. And in my book, I can actually show you a picture of it.
I do have a question. So the psychoactive constituents, do they still come through with topical use? Because typically when we
Yes,
see that,
this is done.
they
This
do.
was
Okay.
only done topically. This is
Wow.
only we haven't had anybody ingest it. We only did this topically because I don't know what's going to happen if you ingest it. So so we're doing this totally topically, and it is amazing how much it's working. It looks like this.
And this is your book, right? That you're
This is
showing
my
us?
book. This is my book.
Okay.
All
So
right.
this is your book. So if somebody wanted to get your book, where would they go to get this?
Robinsresinsplus.com. www.robins with an S. Robins.
And do you ship worldwide? Because like we're in Canada, but you're in the States, so you'll ship to Canada. I think.
On my website, if you go to where the book is further down, there is I self-published through Lulu. Lulu has offices all over the world, and you definitely can get it in Canada through them. I can't sign it, but you can get it through them. The book it's all in color. Whoops.
Yes.
It's all in color.
I do have the book. I ordered the book to Canada, so I know we can get it here. But we do have listeners like outside of Canada and the US, so
they can get it on my website. I send it to them. I personally sign it and with their name, and so they could definitely get it from me. So I sell it. I have it here in the office, so they can get it from me. I also because I asked people, this has recipes in it, all different recipes on how to use it also, and how to infuse it. But people keep asking me for more recipes, and I experiment and I make new things. And when I made this book, I didn't make the cookies. So I wasn't making the Fariana cookies yet. But after the book came out is when I made my famous Fariana shortbread cookies. And they're out of this world. They're chocolate chip. So people ask me, you have all these other recipes. Why don't you write another book? Well, it took me 4 years to write this book. So I said, and it was a lot of work. So I put it out in my Frankincense group in Facebook. What would you like? Another book, a PDF, or an ebook? Well, the census came in as a PDF because they said as a PDF, they can print it what they want. And if they do it in an ebook, they can't print it. They have to carry it around. And in a PDF, you can open it in any mobile device. So I decided to do a PDF. The PDF is digital. Doesn't matter if you live on Mars. You can download it. It's right on my website. And it has all the recipes that are in here, plus 18 more. So that you can get. It's called the Companion PDF. And I can't show you a picture because it's digital. And you can't copy it. It has an ISDN number, but you can print it and you can download it directly. And if you're in the United States, only in the United States, you can get the book and the companion, and I'll email you the companion and I will snail mail you the book. So you could do it that way also.
Awesome. And so this is actually all so exciting. So I just wanted to share with our listeners. So Robin's actually partnered with us as a school at Essentria here. And we're creating a mini course that's called Just Beyond Frankincense. So Robin will kind of expand on a little bit of what we covered today, but also offer so much more. So it's so interesting. The mini course we're launching, I believe we said November 10th. We're going to be rolling out the promotions for that in October. And so we hope that people will come and sign up for that mini course because Robin's got so much that we could learn from her. I'm sure you could talk for hours about frankincense, right?
Yeah, and plus I will have the resins in front of me and it'll be done with a PowerPoint, and also because there's a box of me in there, I'll actually show you the resins. So
yes.
You can,
yeah, probably much more engaging than just listening or even just this like short YouTube video. So that's great.
Definitely much more engaging.
Well, thank you, Robin.
This you only got a little taste.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we were going for, like a bite size. What would we call that? A grade 2 resin size?
a grade 3 resin.
Oh, grade 3 resin size. Okay. There you go. Well, I'm truly fascinated. I have your book. I haven't honestly explored resins very much. So just for anybody who's interested in buying resins, I know in Canada, like we can sometimes go to a health shop, but then it's just frankincense. Like they don't really describe what it is that you're buying. So if we want to get into all these variations of resins, where would we purchase those?
Okay, you can get them from me. I will ship to Canada. The thing about shipping to Canada is that you have to pay your tariffs, whatever they are. So when it comes into your country, you have to pay because it goes out internationally. Too bad the two countries are attached to each other. They should make life a little easier. But unfortunately, there are tariffs in your country and taxes, and you have to pay it. I will send it regular mail, but if I send it regular mail, it will take longer to get to you than if I send it DHL. DHL is you'll get it within 4 days, but then you're paying the price of DHL, which is more expensive. But I will send it regular. From what I'm told, that there's a service, and I haven't researched it enough, but somebody ordered from Canada for me, and she had it shipped to a place in the United States, and they sent it over, which cost her an incredible, like half of what it costs to send to Canada. I don't know if you know of it, but
No, I
I
don't
got to
know.
find out more information about it. But that's another way of shipping to Canada. If you're gonna buy it from a store in Canada, if some shops have it, make sure that it just doesn't say frankincense. You do not want to buy anything that does not have the Latin name on it. And if you pick it up and say, "What is this?" I don't know. Well, then you don't want it. If the merchant has no clue what he bought, because believe it or not, they can put fake rocks in it, and they could put plastic in it that'll look just like the different species of frankincense, and you won't know until you burn it because you'll
Yeah.
smell this foul smell, which will be stone or plastic burning. So if you pick up a bag, please make sure that it says frankincense, Boswellia, sacra, frankincense, Boswellia, carterii. It has to have the name. If it does not have the name, do not purchase it because you don't know what you're getting. It's very important. So,
And can you ship internationally too, like to other parts of the world
yeah,
outside
I'm
of Canada and the
shipping
US?
this week to New Zealand. So,
Okay, great.
yeah, that I do DHL. I won't do it. I ship to Australia. I ship to
Mhm.
New Zealand. I've shipped to Italy and France, and I will only do it through DHL because the United States post office sucks. So bad, bad. So I don't want anxiety of knowing that it's floating all over the world and it doesn't get to them for 2 months. That's ridiculous. So DHL, depending on the country, will get it to them within a week. To Australia, it takes 2 weeks by DHL. It takes 3 months by regular USPS.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a long time.
Same thing with New Zealand.
And I imagine it probably has a little bit of wear and tear by the time it gets to the consumer too,
Yeah,
right? So,
and they open it up and they look at it and then they repack it. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like crossing my fingers.
yeah.
I'm praying that it gets there in one piece. DHL, it's guaranteed because it's
Okay.
insured.
Okay.
Usually it goes by poundage. So I tell people within 2 pounds, don't buy 4 ounces and ship it because 4 ounces will cost you the same as if you are shipping a pound. It's the
Okay,
same
so
shipping.
just get a bit more.
Yeah,
And
get
so
a bit more.
do you provide that support piece too? So when people are there looking for the resin, but they're not sure what to use it for or how much to use? Do you kind of provide a bit of that support in the purchasing piece?
On my website, it tells you basically what the resin is, how to use it. Of course, I tell people to get my book because you'll have a better understanding of the resin. And since you can get it internationally, the book, get the book. Might take a
Yeah.
little longer to get to you, but get the book.
Well, and it's so low cost, right? I can't
The
remember
book
what I
is
paid for the book.
$24.99, whether you're in
Oh,
the
there you go.
United States or in Canada or Mars. It
Yeah, I
depends
was gonna
on the
say, I think I
conversion.
paid, yeah, I think with the conversion, I think I paid like 35 or
Yeah, it depends on
$37.
the
It's
conversion. It
which is
depends
still
on
very
what
cost
you are.
effective.
Yeah, I try to keep the cost really low because
Yep.
I want people to purchase it. I didn't want to. I could have spent. I mean, when I did it through Lulu, they actually came up with a higher price, and they give you recommendations of how much to sell it for. And they wanted me to sell it for $49.99, and I said no. I want people to get the book.
Mhm.
So I know how much it cost me for the book when I purchase it, because of course it's a little less for me when I buy from them. And it was more important for me for people to read it than the actual price of it. So I lowered it.
Mhm.
So, because, and the same thing with my companion. The companion is $14.99. So it's more a labor, all the labor I put into it and all the hours that it took me almost a year and a half to write that. So all the recipes had to be correct to make sure they work before
Mhm.
I could actually put them in a recipe on paper. So, and I'm always coming up with new recipes to use it with. I've made it with, and it's in the book. In the book itself, I have it with upside down cake, upside down pineapple cake. I've made white sacra with. Of course, the cookies are in the companion, and I make you. You can make hot chocolate, which is in the book, and you can convert it into ices and put it in your freezer. And you could make lemonade and put that in your freezer in cubes. And it's a delicious treat, besides the fact that it's very calming. So, a combination of all. So, there's so many things you can do with this. I have a client who begs the life out of me to make the cookies and send it to her. I said, I can't send cookies. I'm not allowed to sell cookies. I said, I can't sell food. I said, you want to come? I'll bake it for you, but you'd have to come here to get it. I said, why can't you bake it yourself? It's really easy. I picked a very simple recipe for making cookies. I found I look online for all these cookie recipes and I go, well, this one is very basic. You really can't mess it up. So I incorporated the resin in it. The first time I made it, it came out too strong. My husband said, you need to redo it. So
So you had testers.
I made a small amount. And the second time I realized you can only use a teaspoon, not a tablespoon. And it was much tastier. And then I switched it. I made it originally with white flour, regular white or flour. And I said, okay, I wonder how it's going to do with almond flour. And I made it without, and that tastes much better. So I revised the whole recipe with almond flour instead of using regular white flour. So there's so many different things play that you can do with these resins because they are edible. You just need to use very little. So, otherwise you smell the frankincense instead of the chocolate chips. So you don't want it overpowering. But as I said, there's so much you can do with these resins. It's unbelievable. Even with the infusions, you can put essential oils into a bottle. This is a bottle of green sacra. You can take, this is an infusion. And you can take a couple of drops of essential oil and put it in here for acute pain. If you have really, really bad pain, you can make it even stronger. So there's so many different things you can mix the essential oils and the resins, and you don't even have to use frankincense essential oil. You can put a different essential oil in this to make it stronger. So, so there's so many different things you can do.
Yes, and I swear by frankincense, at least the essential oil, but I haven't personally explored the resins, but I actually have a spine fracture, so I'm used to living in chronic pain. And I found frankincense was like the number one oil for helping with pain management for myself personally.
Which one are
And
you using?
uh carterii. There we go.
Yeah, try getting one of the other ones, and you might actually see a difference, because carterii
Okay.
is not as strong as the other ones, and it's different. Sometimes, as you know, as an aromatherapist, you can get used to one frankincense or one essential oil, doesn't matter which one it is, and then
Yeah.
it stops working. So you need to change off and
Yes.
try one of the other ones. See,
Yeah, at one point I was able to get the boswellic acid, and I had mixed
the
that.
Boswellia what? Which one?
I think it's just the I don't know what version it was, but it was the boswellic acid that I got, like
Oh, the
the
Boswellic acid.
yeah, and I was able to infuse that. Well, I created a salve with it, and that was very effective for pain management too. So it's really interesting all the things that you can do, but it's not always like available at just the essential oil shops that you were used to going to, right? so
Yeah.
so there's
See,
definitely a
but
learning
I
piece there.
make I make all kinds of products with the resin. I make perfume. I just made a jasmine and myrrh perfume, and I use uh, the Fariana aftermath. The aftermath has a very, from the distillation, has a very beautiful smell. And Fariana has very, very little boswellic acid, but the smell of it is a very sweet smell. So I mixed it with the jasmine and myrrh, believe it or not, way back when, was used as an what is it? So I can't pronounce the name. Asophiliac, as a desire. How do you say the name?
Oh, aphrodisiac.
Aphrodisiac. That's it. Aphrodisiac, where the uh, kings back in the Egyptian time, and even go even back further in Solomon's time, they used to take myrrh and put it in olive oil and smear it all over, have their maidens put it all over them to make the maidens give them more of an arousal so they could have sex with them. So
Wow.
it's actually in the Bible. In the Old Testament, it states it in the Bible. So I
Wow.
thought that was fabulous. So I said, okay, Jasmine does that also. So I made a perfume out of the whole thing, and it came out gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I took also neroli concrete, and I've been playing with the concrete a lot. It's really, really, it's used mostly in perfumes. And I took neglecta and I mixed it, I infused it together, and I came out with this serum that is fabulous for anxiety and stress. So, and I make something called King's Delight, which is great for a man's face. It's made for a man. And it's Fariana, it's Boswellia Fariana, lavender infused oil, and rose infused, because I get rose petals and I infuse it. And I mixed it together, and it's great for any man that has a beard or a mustache makes it my husband swears by it. He has a goatee, and I told him, there's no way you can grow that unless it's soft. I will not kiss you if it's fuzzy. So I made this for him, just for him. And he put it on himself, and now I made him a bottle of it. But I started selling it, and I can't make it fast enough. The problem with the infusions is they have to sit for at least 60 days. So every time I make a new set, every time I put something together, I have to now make a new set for it to infuse, to be able to combine them together. So you can mix the different resins, the infusions together to make a serum, just like you can make different blends with the essential oils. So,
and are these recipes in your book or the PDF?
No.
Or are these just things that you create?
Oh, the things I created.
This is the magic of Robin.
This is the magic of Robin that I sell. I don't give out all my secrets.
Yes.
Not all my secrets.
Gotcha.
But this is the magic. This is the magic of Robin. So
it's a taste of probably what some of the recipes are in the book and the PDF, though, right? So we're getting a hint.
There's a lot in the book. So there is enough in the book that, and if you get the PDF, that you could be making things for a year. And so I give you so I tell you how to make it I even tell you how to make a cake using a cake mix. So if you didn't want to do from scratch and you were lazy like I was, then you can do it from a cake mix. The only thing is you have to follow my directions exactly. Otherwise it won't come out right. Because believe me, I've experimented and experimented till I got it right. And that's what went in the book. So,
well, Robin, I think this has all been so amazing. I think this is a good part to wrap up the podcast today. And I know that our listeners are definitely probably going to be checking out your recipes in your book. So we're going to put the link in the show notes to your website and any of the things that we talked about today, and for the mini course. And we're kind of excited for that upcoming mini course, because I mean, my mind's just blown just sitting here on this podcast of all the stuff you have to share. So
wait till I'm like, wow, my God, you're going to be totally blown.
Yes. So we just want to thank you for coming out today. It's been such an honor to have a meeting with the Frankincense Queen, our Jersey girl, Robin. And we look forward to meeting up with you again for the mini course, and, go over and check out Robin's. She's got a website. She does go by, I think it's RBK Aromatherapy. So that's rbkaromatherapy.com.
That's my consulting page.
Yes.
I do the consulting, but my selling is Robins with an S, resins plus.com.
Thank you so much. We look forward to connecting with you for the mini course.
This episode was brought to you by Essentria, a leading online aromatherapy school. You can join the free Introduction to Essential Oil course at www.schoolofessentria.com.
If you love this episode or you got a lot of value out of it, please make sure you share it with someone in your community who you think will enjoy it too. If you haven't already subscribed or reviewed the show yet, please go over to your preferred streaming platform and hit subscribe, then leave a review. This is the best way to help support us, and we appreciate it. Email us with a screenshot of your review, and you will be entered into our monthly draw for a free mini course.
This podcast is for information purposes only. We are certified clinical aromatherapists and holistic health professionals. If you have a medication concern, please refer to your health team. Everyone's health is unique to themselves, so the topics and suggestions stated may or may not apply to you directly.